Happy Thursday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com. Howdy, howdy. Today is Thursday, January 24th, 2019. This is episode 236 of The Daily Dope. So, welcome aboard. Today, I am going to be reviewing the core book, Coriolis, The Third Horizon from Free League Publishing and Modiphius Entertainment. This is a very unique science fiction game which came out. It's been out for a bit. I think it came out in 2017, but I have been taking a look at a lot of the Free League Publishing releases as of late, and I'm going to give you a hint. I like this one too. So this is a live stream. If this is your first time popping in, this is very, very casual. Normally just talk about some tabletop gaming news, then do an unboxing or a review. Every once in a while, I just kind of share some thoughts about the hobby. There is chat available because this is live on YouTube. So if you are watching live, feel free to say hello, or if you have a question, or maybe you want to learn something about Coriolis that I don't mention, then by all means chime in. I do want to point out that chat is not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of the stranger commenters at bay. I know a lot of live streams have, the chat running by, but I leave it off screen, but I do pay attention. So if you do say howdy or have a question, I will respond. Do want to mention also that if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you catch a few of the videos on the Gaming Gang channel and you like them, by all means, subscribe. Hit that little bell too, because that way you'll be notified not only when there's a new video up, but also when the stream goes live. Got to point out, no tabletop gaming news today. Things have been crazy. They were pretty hectic. I did have some news pieces, but I didn't have time to actually put together the little slides, the little images that I usually share when I'm doing the news, because I was running around a little bit. Some folks, if you watch the show, you already know that my sister-in-law got into an accident last weekend with after that 6 inches of snow. I think they got about 8 by them. And of course the SUV got totaled. So they are out looking for a vehicle, and I was kind of giving them a hand. So didn't have time to get all the news ready today. I was planning on it, but I didn't. So I will have a little extra tabletop gaming news on tomorrow's show, because there was some cool news floating out there. One item I do want to mention, I don't have anything set up for it, but my good friend Herman Lutman, who designed Invaders from Dimension X, which is available from Tiny Battle Publishing, who happens to be one of our Wednesday sponsors, because War Game Wednesdays, his game is now available on PC. So Invaders from Dimension X just became available today on PC. So by all means, go over to tinybattlepublishing.com, check it out. I'll have news about that tomorrow, but I did want to share that because I really got a kick out of that game. In fact, Herman gives me credit for giving him the idea of designing the game, because I asked him one time, or I kind of challenged him one time if he could design a game that was just total chaos. And Invaders from Dimension X sort of is. It's a lot of fun too. I'm actually interested to see how it's ported over. All right, so anywho, do want to point out that all profits, all proceeds that the Gaming Gang brings in, as well as the Daily Dope, which it's not, like huge, but all proceeds, everything that comes in outside of our operating costs, are donated to Lil Bub's Big Fund over at the ASPCA. Yes, the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, and Lil Bub's Big Fund, which actually goes towards helping special needs animals find their forever homes. It helps care for them through various different organizations for special needs animals as they're waiting for adoption. And I gotta say, Lil Bub's the cutest thing. Love Lil Bub. I've got my own little Lil Whiz Bub, as I like to call this little plush toy here, which actually is from the Lil Bub store. It really is. It's not something I'm just saying is affiliated with Lil Bub. But I do want to point out that I am a big proponent of Lil Bub's Big Fund. So just pointing out that I'm going to have some auctions starting in February. Already, I got the first one. I'm going to be auctioning off Andy and Abyss, the new edition from GMT Games. That'll be on February 1st. But anyway, as I mentioned, all proceeds, all profits that the Gaming Gang brings in is donated to Lil Bub's Big Fund over at the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. All right, so moving right along. We're going to jump into the review in just a moment. Did want to talk about what's on tomorrow's show as well as into early next week. So tomorrow's show, I am going to be reviewing the fantasy deck building game Shadow Rift, which is from my friends over at Starling Games. This is the updated 2nd edition. So we are going to take a peek at this. I did an unboxing for this, what was it, about a week and a half ago? Maybe, I think it was a week and a half ago. So I'm going to review that. On Monday's show, I'll be reviewing Paper Tales from Stronghold Games. So that will be on Monday's show. Tuesday, I am finally reviewing The Thing, Infection at Outpost 31 from USAopoly and Mondo Raygun. So I will be doing a review of that. And then Wargame Wednesday, I'm not sure what's cooking Wargame Wednesday. I might have some new goodies to dig into. And then next Thursday will be an RPG. I don't know what I'm going to take a peek at yet. I've been messing around with 4 Against Darkness, which is kind of a solitaire kind of RPG kind of hybrid. It's kind of interesting. So, but I do actually have our new contributor, Sammy Juhas, I believe that's how it's pronounced, taking a look at that as well. So, all depends. We'll see what's cooking. All right, so I don't really have to do much time stamping, any time codes on this episode today because we're jumping right on into the review for Coriolis, the Third Horizon, which is from Free League Publishing and Modiphius Entertainment. I am prepared to start getting all these names incorrect, right? So I'm going to mispronounce these. I do apologize right up front. The game is designed by Martin Duneland, Christian Granith, Tomas Herenstam, Niels Carlin, Costa Kustulas, Daniel Palm, and Adam Palmqvist. Fingers crossed I got most of those close. Artwork is provided by Martin Bergstrom, Gustav Ekelund, and I'm taking a guess, Joachim Eriksson, Magnus Falgren, Christian Granith, and Tobias Trinell. The 384-page hardcover core book is available through Free League, through their website for $49.25, or you can snag it in PDF from DriveThruRPG for $24.99. Do want to point out, if following the review, if you watch the review and you're kind of like, hey, you know, this sounds kind of cool, there is a free quick start as well over at DriveThruRPG, so you can kind of dip your toes in the water before jumping on in. I do want to also mention that the Gaming Gang and thus the Daily Dope are affiliates of DriveThruRPG, as well as all the One Bookshelf websites. So if you are going to visit any of the drive-thru sites, please go to thegaminggang.com first, click on one of our banners. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a little portion of that sale. And I say it all the time, all of that adds up. And from here on out, anything that's above and beyond our hosting, which is mainly what the DriveThruRPG commission, I guess. What percentage, I guess we'll say, which is tiny. Anything above that is going to go to Lil Bub's Big Fun. All right, so enough of that. Let's jump on over to the other camera. We're going to be taking a peek at Coriolis, the Third Horizon core book. So, a couple of weeks ago, I want to say it was a couple of weeks ago, I dug in and we actually sat down and did a complete walkthrough of the book. I'm going to kind of page through this once again, but I'm not going to like stop on every page. Now, I say this when I do my reviews for RPGs, and it seems like I just end up paging through the whole thing again. But that's cool if it's good. If it's good, I tend to show it off a lot more. If it's just meh, I kind of like race on through here. All right, so Coriolis is a science fiction system. It is it's not real rules heavy. It's not super crunchy. It is based on the I believe Free League refers to it as the Year Zero system. So if you have played any Mutant Year Zero, or if you've played some Tales from the Loop, or some Symborum, is that the other system they've got, Symborum? All right, let's see. We're getting some glare here. Let's see, how can we maybe cut down? I don't know. Something like that. Let's see what I've got that's tall enough for us to possibly kind of page through this a little bit at an angle. So, let's see if I can pull it off this way. I know it ends up looking kind of goofy, but still, I don't want to sit here and be flipping through the book and have people like, hey man, I can't see any of this stuff. It's all, the glare is blinding me. Yeah, that looks better. That looks okay. Let's see if I can squeeze this under here a little bit more. I don't want to tear a page in this. Yeah, that should be all right. Just like that. Anyway, okay, so if you've played Mutant Year Zero, if you've played Tales from the Loop, even a little bit Forbidden Lands, which is awesome. That was my favorite role-playing game of 2018. Then you're going to easily jump right on into this system. So effectively, the game also has a bit of a Middle Eastern cultural vibe. I know there are a lot of people out there. In fact, I think Free League themselves sort of mentions that this is an Arabian Nights in space sort of system. And in a lot of respects it is. But the reason why I mention that is that I do know for a fact, no joke, I know for a fact, some gamers might be kind of turned off by thinking, oh, it's Middle Eastern, huh? Hey, trust me, I know how people are. Let me just point out that it is just, and it's just used for like a little bit of background, a little inspiration. A lot of the costume design style, the character design is based off of that. A little bit of the culture is based off of that. It's not, when I say Middle Eastern, I'm not saying Islamic, and I think that's what some people will get in their heads is, oh, I don't want to be playing some game that's about Islam. It's not. So, anyway, plus grow up. You know, everybody who's Islamic is not a terrorist. Hate to break to you. All right, I know somebody's already thumbing down the video for me saying that, but hey, that is the case. All right, so early on in the book, you're looking at creating your characters. So with your characters, your explorers, you are going to have 5 attributes for your explorers. And each of the attributes are on a scale of 1 to 5, the higher being the best. Now, the Year Zero system from Free League is a D6 based system. So effectively what it is, your attribute plus your skill in something is your dice pool that you're going to roll. So as an example, let's say you've got agility of 2, and then you're using a skill that is based on agility, and you've got a skill of 2 in that as well. You would end up rolling 4 6-sided dice. All you basically need to do is get 1 6, or if you're using special dice from Free League, they'll have a little icon on it. All you need to do is get a 6 for a success. Now, the number of 6s that you roll increases the quality of your success. Now, one of the things that you've got in the zero system, year 0 system, is there's always a mechanic for you to be able to push your luck. So there's a push your luck mechanic here, as opposed, it's pretty interesting. So in Coriolis, when you push your luck, you're actually there's a bit of a mystical, supernatural vibe to this setting as well. It's not hard science fiction. It's almost like, as weird as this may sound, it's almost got kind of like a little bit of a fairy tale vibe to the goings on. So what you end up doing is you actually pray to these gods, basically, to push your luck, right? So you can push your luck if you failed on a roll. You can push your luck. Now, if you fail again, the game master actually gets a point, kind of almost like, like a Benny, fate point, that kind of stuff, to be able to use against the players. So I like that. I thought that was pretty cool. All right, so going through here, we've got the various different character classes or archetypes. We've got artist, data spider. I like the artwork too. Got to point out here, and I'll see, we're getting the glare. See, I was gonna try to do straight on, but we're getting that glare there. But I like the artwork. The artwork is very, very cool. It is not, to me, it's not your standard role-playing game artwork by any stretch. It's got a little bit of darkness to it. So we got fugitive, negotiator, operative. So here, and we'll get an idea. It's like, and then we get sub-concepts, right? So it's not like, oh, well, you're just an operative. Here, for an example, you could be an assassin, or maybe you're a guardsman / guardswoman. Maybe you're a spy. Then kind of tell you about what's your reputation. What is your key attribute? So for an example, an operative's key attribute is agility, concept skills, appearance, talents, possible personal problems, relationships to other NPCs, and you get to roll for gear. So you've got a pilot, preacher, scientist, ship worker, soldier, trailblazer. I like that art right there with a weird kind of like almost like little monkey creature there. And we talk about the skills. Not tons and tons of skills. We're not talking like basic role-playing game from Chaosium skill lists, but there are a good number of skills that are included in the game. Here we go, talking about if you watched my unboxing as well as my review of Forbidden Lands, then you'll probably recognize this success chance chart, which kind of tells you, okay, so if you're rolling how many dice, what is your chance of success the first time out, and with prayer, you're pushing your luck. So we've got the general skills. So we've got dexterity, force, manipulate, infiltration, melee combat. I'll talk about combat in just a little bit. Got some advanced skills. Then we get into talents. Talents are also along the lines of skills as well, kind of treated kind of in the same way. A little more specific. So we've got group talents, icon talents. Icons are sort of the mystic religious icons. That's who you're praying to, I should say, when you're trying to push your luck. We got general talents. So I want to say it's like the first 7 chapters or so is all about rolling up your character, creating your character. And it's a lot of pages in here. Oh, I'm sorry, first 4 chapters, I guess. I thought it was more chapters than that. it's pretty quick. Rolling up your character is pretty quick. You're not sitting there like some role-playing games. Yes, I'm looking at you, Pathfinder. Min-maxing stuff or anything like that. In Coriolis, you're really kind of aiming towards what's the sort of character you really want to play. What's the sort of character that's really going to get your juices flowing. What is a concept that you'd like? One of the cool things about this game as well is the fact that the player characters are heroes. The player characters aren't just lonely farm boys and girls who are going to eventually go on to become rulers of the universe or anything like that. They're already fairly heroic. They stand above the average populace. Now, that being said, I don't really see them as powerful as, say, like first level 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons characters are. Combat's pretty quick. Combat is deadly, and I like that. I like combat being lethal, especially when you're looking at a science fiction setting, right? I mean, you've got all these kind of advanced weapons and things like that. Wouldn't you think combat is going to be much more lethal than if you're, say, going at it with knives and swords and people are in armor and things like that? So that I definitely dug. It's easier for the characters to be killed in Coriolis than, say, in 5th edition. And I know some game masters complain that it's very, very difficult to take player characters out in 5th edition D&D. Here, your player characters have much more what would be a word I'd like to use? Maybe I should say that they tend to have a longer lifespan than in some role-playing games. But really, I gotta be honest, the way I kind of see it is the GM is gonna kind of be the one who's deciding if player characters bite the dust or not. There's a lot of ways for the game master to be able to adapt the way combat's going if they want. I mean, that's really the case in any game, honestly, that a game master can easily decide they're going to just pull out a total party kill. But the game master in Coriolis has a lot of control over how the game is flowing, is really how it's going to break down. So we've got the weapons and equipment. We've got actually quite a lot in here, a lot of different gear. We're going to get to the point where we're going to take a look at this, the starships, because essentially the way you should look at your party, your group, is most player groups are probably going to be the crew of a ship, right? And they're exploring the horizon, basically. They're exploring the various different systems. They're looking for, fame, glory, wealth. So there is a good amount of background about the setting, although I wish there was a bit more. There are a lot of things that are kind of mentioned but not gone into a lot of detail, and I completely understand that Free League and Modiphius would like to sell additional products. Don't get me wrong, right? They're not going to give you everything right out the bat. Right out the door, you've got everything you need. You never need to pay for anything else again. I remember, I've mentioned this before, that Kenneth Haidt, who does a lot of Pelgrane Press stuff, I was having pizza with him and John Zinzer from AEG, and Elliot Miller, my best friend, who was part of the gaming gang. Now he does voiceofe.com. So we're sitting there, and Ken Haidt said, anybody who looks to get into role-playing games as a way to get rich must be out of their mind, because it's one of the only hobbies out there that all you got to do is give somebody a core book, and if you've got a game master and even players who are imaginative, they don't need anything else ever again, except for maybe dice. That's it. They don't have to be buying adventures or supplements or anything like that. They can fill in their own blanks. So one thing I thought was cool, I always like seeing this, is when we get into like weapons and things like that. When a book actually shows us what they look like. We don't get that all the time, especially fantasy role-playing games. It's sort of like, okay, well, you know, maybe some people don't know the difference between a pole arm and a pole axe and a pike. But in science fiction games, you definitely need to get some sort of visual clues on what this stuff looks like. All right, so showing some of the melee weapons. We already saw some of the ranged weapons. The armor, cybernetics, and bionics. There's a little bit of transhumanism to the system, but not a ton. Coriolis does not focus on that. So for an example, games like, say like Mindjammer, Sarah Newton's role-playing game, which I believe is also through Modiphius still, that has a lot of transhumanism in it. This doesn't. Most of the humans that you'll run across in Coriolis are not going to be enhanced. So now we're talking about star travel. There's like, if I remember correctly, there's like 30 different systems involved in the horizon. So spacecraft in the third horizon, creating your ship. Here's another thing that's pretty cool. So you're creating your ship. There's the rules to creating your ship are just meaty enough where it's like, wow, yeah, okay, very cool. I've created my own ship that's going to stand out from just cookie cutter, just templates. But I also have to point out also that the rules don't get completely bogged down where you're sitting there creating your starship forever. This is not Car Wars. You're not sitting here like spending 2 hours figuring out and, you know, busting the calculator out on your phone to figure out how you're putting together your starship. So, like these rules, I thought these were pretty nice. As with pretty much everything in Coriolis, as well as the Year Zero system, it's got enough crunch, in my opinion, that it gives a good feel of simulation without going just completely overboard with minutia. All right, so we get some pretty cool looking starship templates, basically. Showing some of the other ships. Talking about space combat. Space combat, once again, nice amount of flavor to it without getting completely crazy with detail as well. So you do have different phases in the turn. So here's another aspect of Coriolis that I like too, is, as I mentioned, the player characters are effectively, they should be crew members of a ship. So each of these crew members are going to have their responsibilities on the ship. So I thought that was pretty cool. So here you can see the turn phases. We got the order phase. So the captains are going to choose their orders secretly. The engineer phase, got the pilot phase, we got the sensor phase, we got the attack phase. So we've got the engineers, we got the pilots, we got the sensor operators, and then we've also got the gunners. So everybody has a little something going on during each turn of the space combat. All right, kind of flipping through. See, I said I wasn't going to sit here and flip through every page, and what am I doing? I'm flipping through every page. But I have to point out, I really like this book. So I really do dig this. I really do like this. I gotta be honest, I have yet to, let's see, if I get rid of this, do I still have enough elevation to avoid that glare? Yeah, it looks okay. Yeah, it just seemed like it was a little too far angled out. Okay, so I started to say, I have yet to run across anything from Free League that I didn't think was top notch, that I thought was really, really nicely done. The quality of this book is really nice too. Nice paper stock. It's not thin. The white on black, I'm not a huge fan of. I don't know, maybe it's just me. Now, thankfully, you don't see a ton of it, right? We don't see a lot of it. A lot of the information is provided in kind of these boxes here, but there is a good amount of white text on black or dark backgrounds. And like I started to say, maybe it's just me, but after a while, my eyes kind of get tired. It does. I mean, here's the weird thing. It's kind of like a space game, like a science fiction game motif, almost like a graphic design decision that a lot of space related games do, just like Star Trek Adventures, which is excellent. Star Trek Adventures from Modiphius, same thing. Their core book is white on black. It's all light on dark. But I seem to recall it is like all light on dark. Now, of course, there's the PDF that's like printer friendly, which is black on white, which is much easier to read. Okay, so let me grab a quick sip here. I'm just babbling away, right? Hey, and I'm taking a look, and it looks as if we have no drop frames tonight. Very cool. I noticed last night when I was doing the unboxing for the second edition of Andy and Abyss, when I had the box out, it looked like we had a drop in, not just a frame drop, it looks like it was like an internet drop, maybe of, I don't know, 20 seconds, because it goes from me saying, okay, well, let's move on over to the other camera, right? Like I always do when I go from this camera to this camera, and all of a sudden it just cuts right to like the back of the box. So it looks like about 20-30 seconds had dropped off, but tonight we're looking to zero drop frames, so that's sweet. Okay, so we get into a lot of the background. Now, one of the things that I kind of look at is when I'm reviewing a role-playing game, I am not fixated on mechanics. I never have been. I never will be fixated on mechanics, and the reason why is because I have no problem whatsoever kit bashing role-playing games. If you follow the show, if you watch any of the episodes, especially when I'm talking role-playing games, you already know that I've spent decades running Call of Cthulhu. And there's plenty of aspects of Call of Cthulhu and basic role-playing that I've kit bashed. Stuff I didn't like, took out. Stuff that I ran across in another system, kind of swiped that and kind of modded that on in. So, to me, when I'm looking at a role-playing game, the big point to me is, A, do I want to run this? B, is this a really interesting setting? And C, is this something where I think if somebody purchases this completely cold, like for an example, this uses the year zero system. If somebody has no experience with the zero system, could they jump into this and play, right? That's how I kind of look at the way I review role-playing games. I'm not a big stickler for mechanics. And that, I guess, I got to be honest, that's one of the reasons why if an RPG is mechanically broken, a lot of times I'm not going to see it just reading through a book to do a review. That said, I could always tell when a game is probably mechanically broken because the information is never actually presented logically or intuitively, and that's usually a good indication that the mechanics of the system are going to be broken. But just reading through and saying, oh no, that doesn't seem right, I don't pick up on that. And I don't know, maybe some people don't like that aspect of my reviews and that, but it's sort of like, well, I can't sit here and study a role-playing game system for like weeks on end. I have other reviews. Okay, so now we're into the factions. So I like the factions here. And I kind of rambled on a little bit. This is one of the, talking about, oh, hey, what I look at when I'm doing a review of role-playing games. I look at, does this stuff stand out? Is this just, is this rehashed? Or is this pretty unique? As I had mentioned before, there is a bit of a Middle Eastern influence to the game, and it's mainly in the factions themselves. I like the factions that they're not They're not black and white. It's not like, oh, those are the bad guys. Oh, here's the good guys. There's a lot of gray in the various different factions, and all the factions are very interesting as well. So, and there's quite a few factions to be working with too. Religion plays a pretty good role in Coriolis as well. You don't necessarily have to get like really into that, but it is part of the setting. And honestly, usually that kind of turns me off. I mean, no, granted, now I'm not talking about like, fantasy religions and like the cleric has to have some deity that they worship. I have no issue with that. But there have been role-playing games over the years where they got a little too heavy into kind of the religious aspect of the setting. This, a little bit, but it doesn't go overboard. So then we're looking at the kind of the small fries as far as the politics. All right, moving right along. You'll notice there are a lot of random tables here using the 11 through 66. So basically what you're doing is you just roll 2 6-sided dice, 2 different colors. One is your single digits, the other is your tens. So now we get into the people of the horizon. And here, once again, now we're seeing that, that influence in the character design, in the kind of the fashion of the setting. It's a little bit of medieval as well. Talking about daily life, technology, culture. I think this artwork really stands out. I really do. This is some of the more interesting artwork I have seen. Not this. This is more like tarot card kind of style, which is what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to look kind of like tarot cards. But I think the artwork is evocative. It's, like I said, it's the setting is a little dark. It's not super grim dark. We're not talking Warhammer 40K here, but a little bit of darkness to it. Faith of the people, spirits and myths. Now we talk about Coriolis, jewel and beating heart of the horizon, cradle and holy shrine of the Zenithian civilization. Coriolis is the station, so right there. The Coriolis space station is the hub of the third horizon, a la Babylon 5-ish a little bit. So talking about the station itself, I guess we could say a little Deep Space Nine, although I think Babylon 5 was a bigger deal in their in their background than Deep Space Nine was for Star Trek. Very cool. All right, so going to the Spire. We're talking about various different areas of the Coriolis station. So we get little encounter tables and stuff in the various areas, talking about the government there. Important facts. Now we talk about the systems here. So we're going to see various different planets. This is where we start getting into, in the background information, this is where we start kind of touching on stuff. And this is one of the things that I mentioned earlier, that you get a lot of information, but there's some aspects that it's kind of like, as a game master, I would have liked to have had just a little more detail. But in some ways, I sort of get the impression that, granted, as I mentioned, yes, Free League and Modiphius want to sell more products as they have other stuff come out, because now they just released in PDF the first major adventure supplement on Drive-Thru RPG, the Lost Emissary. But I know there are some other PDF supplements that are out there. But I think that the one that just came out a couple of days ago is the biggest so far. But I might actually get a chance to take a peek at it. So my contact over at Free League did mention that she's probably going to send it along. So hopefully we do get to see that. So we have the Atlas of the Third Horizon. This is just kind of a catch-all here with various different planets that aren't probably playing as big a role. That's a pretty cool spread there. Beast and the Genie. Coriolis is a setting that doesn't have a lot of aliens. A lot of really strange aliens. Although there are some. But at least the core book seems to focus more on humans. Or what look like humans. We got constructs, kind of look at some robots, stuff like that. Drones. Spirits. Because as I mentioned, there's kind of a bit of a supernatural vibe to this as well. And now we get into the campaign. Now this is sort of really where the Game Master info kind of kicks off. Now granted, a Game Master might want to keep some of this stuff secret from their players. What I started to say, and then I got off topic. When I was talking about, I could see, there's information, but then I just wish there was just a little bit more. In one respect, I sort of feel that Free League kind of wants the GMs and players to kind of fill in some of the blanks themselves. That it's not necessarily, well, we're leaving this out because we're going to have this supplement come out in 2 years that's going to cover it. So I kind of get the feeling that is more of the vibe. That's more the kind of design decision with the game. So here, your job is the GM, principles of the game, scenes. Of course, this is not an old school Renaissance sort of game. It's not like, okay, well, I just throw this stuff in front of everybody and the story comes from that. No, it's got scenes and progression. People used to, I'm not saying it's a railroad, but I remember people used to be like super mad with, oh man, I'm getting railroaded. Our player characters get railroaded all the time. Isn't that what most modern role-playing games are now, though? I mean, look at Pathfinder, look at the adventure paths, look at Dungeons and Dragons, 5th edition, and we can talk railroad going all the way back to 2nd edition. But to me, it's more like set pieces. Now, there's ways, especially for an example, as someone who's run Call of Cthulhu for decades, there's ways to have set pieces where it's not predetermined what the players are going to do. Railroading players is when players have a choice, but the reality is, regardless of the choices they make, the outcome is the same. That's railroading in my book. Right, so we start getting some deck plans of some of the different ships. Almost done. Oops. Get a little bit of a deck plan for space station there. Space combat map. Player character sheets. And this was successfully kickstarted. So, and of course, player character sheets are 2 pages. You've got the character sheet here and your spaceship sheet. I just couldn't say that. And that is everything in Coriolis, the Third Horizon, from, as Brawlin' Battleships gets a free plug for Lost Battalion Games there. Coriolis, the Third Horizon from Free League Publishing and Modiphius Entertainment. All right, let me get a quick sip here and I'll give you my final score. So, I think, as I talked about the core book there, you got the impression that I do like Coriolis, the Third Horizon. And you would be correct. I think it is really, really well done. one of the better science fiction role-playing core books I have seen in a long time. Well, okay, that I've seen in a while. Let me take that back. I'll say that I've seen in a while, because I really think Star Trek Adventures is really well done by Modiphius Entertainment as well. Although I got to be honest, I have not seen a lot. I had the PDF of the core book and one of the first supplements, which still really, really good. So for somebody who is looking for a cool science fiction game that you could actually port over to other settings, other backgrounds, say, oh, I don't know, like maybe The Expanse. This is really something that you want to look at. Now, the background, the setting for Coriolis itself is really interesting. It's really cool. I definitely like it. I like the Year Zero system with the 6-sided dice. Plays quick, plays fast. You're not sitting there constantly going, okay, well, all right, so I get this modifier here. I get a bonus. Oh, okay, wait, I get a penalty, bonus. No, it's if the game master is making things more difficult, basically all they're going to be doing is either removing dice from your pool or removing successes that you roll. That's about it. Or adding more dice to your pool and adding more successes to your roll, right? Pretty easy peasy there. So there's enough meat to the system. It's got enough crunch where it's not just completely light, say like Tiny Frontiers from Gallant Knight Games, right? That just used the D6 system, which is cool if you want like super rules light stuff. It is certainly not as crunchy as, say, Warhammer 40k Wrath and Glory, that's for sure. So, like the system, dig the artwork. Quality of the book is really, really nicely done. And it's very easy to get into. Setting's very interesting, and it's unique. That was something that really stands out. This is a unique setting. And another aspect is the factions aren't all cookie cutter, same old. There's a lot of gray. They're very original, is what I guess I'll say with the factions themselves. As far as what I didn't like, there isn't much. There really isn't much there. As I said, I would have liked to have seen a little more detail. There's a lot of stuff that's discussed that as a game master, you're sitting there like, oh, wow, that's getting my juices flowing a little bit reading this. And then it just kind of dropped. And it's like, oh, okay, well, hopefully maybe that's something coming out in a further supplement. Or maybe it's up to myself and my players to put the pieces of that together. I like the fact that there's kind of a mystery behind it. There are these kind of like founders that nobody really knows much about. There's a history. There's an ancient history to this game, which is very cool. That really kind of shines through as well. A little bit of little horror, little darkness, a little supernatural. Very, very cool. I really, really like it. All in all, I think, like I had mentioned before, when it's referred to as Arabian Nights in space or kind of a Middle Eastern influenced science fiction role-playing game, that some people might be a little turned off by that or dissuaded because of that description. Don't let that happen. It's not, like I said before, it's not Islam in space, okay? I swear, people are probably laughing watching this. I guarantee there are some gamers out there who've seen this book and they've seen the description and they're like, ooh, it's Islam in space. It is not. Very, very cool. So, all in all, on a scale of 1 to 10, I give Coriolis a standout 9.4 out of 10. Here, I'll block my face off with it. Very, very definitely worth checking out. As I mentioned before, you can pick up the core book in hardcover from the from the Free League Publishing website. For $49.25. It is available in PDF at DriveThruRPG for $24.99. And by all means, go and download the Quick Start over on DriveThruRPG. I will have a link to it in the show notes. Check it out. Just dip your toes in. But it is very cool. Really, really like it. It is another top-notch role-playing game release from Free League Publishing and Modiphius Entertainment. All right, so, wow, that actually went a lot longer than I thought it would. But then again, I just always ramble on. It's a live show. What can I tell you? All right, so, as I mentioned on tomorrow's show, this box is kind of heavy. This is not full of air, I'm telling you, folks. Tomorrow, I am going to be reviewing Shadow Rift, the heroic adventure deck building game. It's a fantasy game from my friends over at Starling Games. This is the new updated second edition. So I will be reviewing that. As I like to always mention, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel here on YouTube, please go visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. By now you know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. I'll be back tomorrow. Enjoy your Thursday night. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Thanks again for watching The Daily Dope, presented by The Gaming Gang. If you like this episode, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. And if you dig the channel, please subscribe. If you'd like to check out our previous episode, click right here. And if you want to check out a somewhat randomly selected episode, give a click right down here. It'll be like opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You just don't know what you'll get. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'm Jeff McAleer.